You just dial into them, and that's updated every 15-20 minutes. And they'll give you airspeed, you know, wind direction, you know, wind speed and everything. It's free. You know, you can download those numbers, and that's very legal. You know, so as you're going up the course, or you want to see what's going on 50 miles ahead, or you can call the Mackinac Island Airport as you're coming into the, you know, from Spectacle Reef 25, 30 miles out. You know, you're going to be able to get a pretty good gauge of what's going on well in advance. You know, and they're pretty accurate. And again, it's all automated. So those are good sources. You know, what's legal to do, you know, nowadays it's almost anything, except, you know, you can't have something that is private to you. You can't get routing services. You know, you can't have anything that's private. It's got to be readily available to all the boats. Okay, it can be subscription basis, but if you know, if I can buy a subscription, Al can buy a subscription, you can buy a subscription, then you know that's good enough. It just can't be private. You know, just catered to you. You know, it's pretty much. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. Let's talk about crews for a minute. Both Paul and Greg are kind of family-based crews, and that's been I know it has been for Paul, and Greg, I think it has been for you pretty much since you were a teenager. In selecting a crew for a Mackinac race, as opposed to sailing out here on Saturday, any more people and you got different demands on the crew, sailing with family members a plus or a minus? Does that restrict you in your choice? I'll start with you, Paul.
Family's good because, you know, you'd say anything you want to them. You know, you call them anything you want. We also, you know, get some other really good guys, but all the guys we've been sailing with is a good 10-15 years, so we know everything about them. They know how we sail. You know, as I said, the best part about it is family. You know, you get out there and you just tell jokes the whole time and race hard and go for it. I did want to add one thing about the weather.
Please do. I don't want to dominate this. This is your show, not mine.
He set a lot of different websites, and I used to do all that, and I found out it got very confusing. So over the years, you'd start to find out which ones were actually accurate. And the ones I have just stuck by the last 3-4 years was Glero. I know you guys probably all see Glero, okay, and everyone gets the stuff before the race. But the main thing is with Glero is to get it during the race, know exactly when it's downloaded, and download it off the internet, whether it's satellite or off your laptop, 10 minutes after it comes up new. And from there, that's where we find out the biggest changes, because most people get their plan of action before the race. Well, you get out to the race course and you already got a whole new set of predictions. And from there, you just set up, you know, every 3, 4, or 6 hours where you want to be on the lake. And I actually set marks down the lake on where I want to be, and try to be close. So I race towards those marks because that's where the wind's the best, strongest, or best reaching angle. The next one is NOAA. NOAA will usually match up sort of. I'll give you a halfway decent idea. The one I don't really care for, I'm not going to, you know, badmouth anyone, is that XM. Everyone says XM's the greatest. It tells you exactly everything. And what I found out is it tells you exactly what the weather is right now. And I know what the weather is right now. You know, I just go out on my boat, check my instruments, and that's what the weather is. It does have a good radar system if you want good radar, you know, without buying a radar. But the thing is, you got a laptop now, you just download the radar off of, was it Doppler 7000 or something?
Or even you can get onto a NOAA web.
Yeah,
the NOAA radar is very good.
Yeah, you get radar right off the laptop now. But otherwise, that's the only thing I really do is go heavily off the weather. That's the biggest. You know, you're looking at tricks nowadays compared to, let's say, 10 years ago, is the weather forecasting is so much better.
Yeah, sure it is. Yeah. Greg, what do you add to that? Crew selection.
Well, you know, I think I was invited here because I'm the low-tech guy. I sail on a 32-year-old boat. I've been sailing on it for 28 years. It's held together with duct tape and baling wire. And I don't even know what a grip file is. So let me break this down into a way that might work better for you guys. You know, I am not quite as anal as Peter, but I start about 10 days before the race. I start looking at 8 million weather sites every night, and it is totally useless. All it does is just satiate my, you know, appetite for getting excited about the race. It's meaningless to me. And about 3 or 4 days before the race, you actually start seeing the weather system. Is this still working? The weather system that is going to be working in as you're sailing. And there's 2 things about a weather system, I think. I'm pretty simple that you care about during a race, and one is wind velocity, and the other one's wind direction. And all other things being equal, I think Al's right. Point towards the mark. That works. But generally what you see is as these weather systems move by, you see changing velocities from here to there. And I like to get on that side of my fleet. If I think it's a left wind, I get just on the left-hand side of the fleet. I don't go shooting way left, because if you're wrong, you're out of the race. And if I think it's right, I get just on the right. And the nice thing about that is if you're just on the edge of your fleet, well, if you're right, you're ahead. And if you're wrong, you're still in the race. Because, you know, we can talk till we're blue in the face, and you know, if you're a great sailor, probably 30% of the decisions you make out there are going to be wrong. That's just the way it works. So if you're taking decisions that when you get on the wrong side of them are going to put you out of the race, you're gonna lose a lot of races. So so I just get on the side of the fleet that I think that I should stay on, and as long as I can see, you know, the red lights over there, I'm doing pretty good. So it's a very much low tech operation. I haven't won as many as these guys have, but I won a few. And it works. I'm not capable of processing all that information, so I don't even try to do it. And in terms of crew, which I think is what started this whole thing,
You kind of started this whole thing, but go ahead.
I think crew is probably 90% of your success out there, because if you can't, and Al kind of mentioned it briefly, if you don't sail well at night when it's dark, you're not going to win ever. So you've got to put a crew together where 24 hours a day you can have a bowman that's competent, a spinnaker trimmer that's competent, a mainsail trimmer that's competent, Genoa trimmer, helmsman, navigator, and you have to do that. And we start in at Thanksgiving. You know, we get the mob together and we say, okay, here's what our race schedule is for next year, who's doing what. And we make sure that we, when the sailing season comes by in May and June and July and August, that in every race we have guys that can do those things 24 hours a day. Sailing fast at night is the single most efficient way to win Mackinac races, because that's what most people don't do very well.
Right, Bob?
I was going to add on to what Greg was saying, is that, you know, I certainly have embraced the high-tech area of sailing. I mean, you got to remember, I sailed my first Mackinac in 1966, so we didn't have any of these tools. I suppose we had a radio direction finder. We did a lot of DR work and such things that you wouldn't even think of today. And that's a bit of a blessing, because the high-tech areas that Paul, I know, has tremendous expertise with, I've sailed with Pete, and they're outstanding at it, are great tools. And if I'm putting together a crew, I really want people like them who have that expertise, because there are times when it's tremendously helpful. But no doubt when it comes to weather, the best lessons that I ever got were from my dad. And I mean, we're talking 40 years ago, is that at that time, he could demonstrate why there's likely to be more wind in one part of the lake versus another in various conditions. And I got to tell you, the lake hasn't changed in the 40 years. It's still true. And the single biggest component to winning this race is sailing in the part of the lake with more wind while your other competitors aren't. So these tools are great. But we'll talk a little bit later about some of the things that I use that are different from these tools that maybe pick a place to sail.
Let's talk about that now.
Okay. Well, we do